Welcome to Sunday Satsang. I welcome you with all my heart. I love you all with all my heart. We are a family, a spiritual family. You may have no others in your life that share your journey, but we have each other here. On Sundays, you listen to my bullshit. On Wednesdays, you give your own. You make up your stories on Wednesdays and try to persuade us to believe them. But nobody pays any attention to other people's stories. They're your own. So on Wednesday, you may think you have an audience, but you just have a lot of family members that don't care about your bullshit, but they wait an opportunity to share their own, thinking that maybe somebody will care about their bullshit, but we don't. In Zen, the most fundamental recognition, and it extends to all spirituality, is that mind makes everything. Without mind, the world would not be populated by objects. It would not be populated by other people that have names and histories. You would not be caught in a web of paying rent or mortgages, going to work on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and putting up with coworkers. But knowing most of you, you're probably not working because you don't know how to hold a job. Can you imagine Stevie going to an office every day? Or working outdoors, cutting trees? Can you imagine Rolf not smiling all the time? No, you can't. Can you imagine VJ saying he finally feels satisfied with everything? No, you can't. Can you imagine Spencer asking a philosophical question? No, you can't. Can you imagine Vesselina and Michael not fighting? No, you can't. Can you imagine Mark not telling you how marvelous his life is every moment of the day? No, you can't. Can you imagine Angela telling everybody how extremely happy she is all the time? No, you can't. Can you imagine anyone saying anything that makes any sense. No, you can't. Can you imagine Jay angry and telling everybody, go fuck yourself? I've got my cat. I don't need you. Well, maybe. Mind makes everything. That's where the idea the world is unreal comes from. That the world we live in is really a creation of our own mind. And it's filled with stories about who and what we are, what our job is, what kind of personality we have, what we're looking for, what we haven't found, and ideas about spiritual practice. Mind makes everything. That's why you have to get out of stories, whatever your story is. Instead, you just keep observing yourself as you are, without story. Hour after hour, day after day, month after month, year after year. And gradually the stories fall off. You get new stories about your endeavor to liberate yourself from stories. But more and more, you get to experience different levels of yourself that you hadn't seen before or felt before. For example, just changing from an observation orientation of looking at your mind, looking at your body, towards an orientation of feeling changes everything. Instead of observing and speaking about your story, you just be quiet and feel. You feel the various levels of your self-experience. You feel your body. You feel whether it's relaxed or tense. You feel your various muscles, like in your neck, in your upper back, your shoulders, your arms. You feel the tension. You feel your breath coming in and out. You see or feel that if you take a slow breath and breathe out slowly, some of the tension starts going away. So you develop a pattern of slow breathing with long exhalations in order to relax more and more into yourself. And that's what all of spirituality is really. Self-investigation, not the kind of artificial one of self-inquiry where you look for the I sense or feel for the I sense, but just encountering yourself as you are in the now. When we first start meditating, we're distracted by everything. The sounds in the room, the sounds outside, birds outside, children yelling outside, drive-by gunfire, the usual. And then we get distracted by our own mind. You can spend many years fascinated with understanding or watching or feeling how our mind works. But when you go from an observing or watching point of view to one of feeling, it's so much easier to get under the mind and into feeling and uncover layer after layer of experiences that were heretofore not seen, not known, not felt. The more we quiet the mind, the more we quiet our relaxation into the present, the more and more we can discover new inside of ourselves. If we're lucky, something happens to us externally and energies are set off in us. We feel deep love for somebody, and they express the same towards us. And it awakens energies in us. And then we can spend years exploring the energetic aspects of our being, not only of our body, but of the spirit that animates the body. And we realize after a time that what we are has very little to do with the body, except to be host for the spirit. I saw when my mother died. She was mostly incoherent. She couldn't communicate. She was quite agitated. And when she opened her eyes and looked at me, her eyes were only on me for a second or two before they moved away, as if I didn't exist. And I knew my mother was no more. The person I knew was already dead. She died a few hours later on a morphine drip. Her agitation finally conquered. But what's real is nothing our mind thinks of. It's not the tales we tell ourselves about ourselves. Like, I'm always doing this, damn it. Why can't I stop? Or obsessing about food, or obsessing about our appearance, or obsessing about money, or obsessing about obsessing. Mind makes the world, makes everything. The world as it is has no titles, has no names. It's just there, nameless, silent. It's what our mind does with it and creates our own little world. our own little world with our own story. We wake up every morning and re-enter our own little story. And the only way out of it is to feel inside, to look inside and to feel inside, and to get underneath all story and live deeper into our own being. Until we come to a depth where the body tension is mostly gone. And we can feel our own life force, which is just another idea. You have no idea what I mean unless you feel it yourself. It's that bottommost layer. Deep within the feeling of our body. It's located inside of that feeling of our body. It underlies the feeling of our body. It's deeper. And when we find it, we enter a new world of happiness. Sure, things still bother us. Somebody pisses us off. Somebody drops something off the table and makes a loud noise and scares us. Somebody's at the door ringing the doorbell. We don't want to go visit whoever it is. Turns out to be a delivery for Maxie because he's still using this address. It's from Amazon. A new t-shirt for Max. Things still bother us, but when we stop for a minute and relax, we feel the happiness and joy of just being alive. What Nisargadatta calls beingness, simply being sentient, being aware, being conscious of. Our deepest layer is happiness. We don't need to feel any more energies here. We don't need to feel Shakti. We don't need to feel orgasms anymore. We don't need to taste corn on the cob anymore. Or mashed potatoes or French fries. Those come when those come. But basically in this state, I'm happy doing nothing. Michael yearns to stay in that state as often as he can. Stevie is much there most of the time. You could beat him with a stick and he wouldn't leave the bed because he's happy there. Do you want to find that happiness within yourself? Do you want to find that peace within yourself? It's not easy because there are so many levels of experience you have to go through. And after penetrating that level of experience, recognize that that is not me. No matter how profound you thought it or how pleasurable you thought it just a month before. Those energies, the Shakti, the Kundalini, which is so enticing for a while, becomes a nuisance after a while. And when you no longer need the stimulation of Shakti, you find a deeper peace, but you wouldn't have found it hadn't you lived through a period of exploring Shakti or Kundalini experiences. You have to awaken and explore that level in you and come to God realization of the divine within. And when you realize the God within, you also realize that God within is also you as an incarnational aspect of that universal God you find within yourself. And after you spend a decade worshiping that self, that God, then you don't have to do it anymore. You find it's a distraction from yourself, resting in yourself. And when you can rest in yourself, it doesn't matter if you're disturbed in that rest, because you can always come back to it after you finish your chore. It's always available to you. Welcome, Eric. Long time no see. Don't be a stranger. Look at Mari. She looks like she's actually paying attention to what I'm saying. Deep down at the bottom of your experience is unending happiness, peace beyond understanding. It's exactly what Robert was talking about. But Robert passed through all those layers within himself previously to my meeting him and the other people in his Sangha meeting him. He had been with Muktananda, feeling the energies until that period passed in him. It's like having a hobby. Maybe your hobby is flying. Single engines, 2-engine planes, gliders, sailplanes. Then one day you say, I'm bored with that stuff. That's how it is. Through self-exploration, through observation, and through feeling. more and more layers of you are exposed, and you become aware of them. You find them fascinating. You find yourself increasingly fascinated by yourself. The energies are exploding in you and around you. You feel them flowing inside of you, or up through you, or down through you. I felt it every conceivable way, as the descent of a golden light of grace that washed away all my concerns and fears. I felt it as Kundalini for many years. I felt it as energies rising in the perineum, going up through the crown of my head, drilling holes in the skull. I've spent years in different kinds of ecstasies, ever more rarefied and divine. And I came to a place where I saw all of that was a distraction from being myself in the deepest layer. I haven't wanted to travel for years. Shankarananda all the time invites me to visit him in Australia and to go with him to India, to Ganeshpuri. And he talks about the wondrous energy of Ganeshpuri, the magic of India, and the energetic power you feel in India in various places. But I keep telling him, wherever I go, I feel the same. I feel me. No matter where I travel, to Sedona, La Jolla, all the places I've loved to go, they no longer fill me with delight to be traveling, to see the ocean, to feel the cold air coming off the ocean at night, or the fog. Sure, I'd be excited for a couple of hours or 3 hours to feel the fog coming in again off of the ocean, to hear the waves. But after a few hours, I'd be back in the happiness of myself. Spirituality is filled with years of exploration of self. And it's mind-boggling in the fascinating things you find in yourself. The layers of energies, the countless layers of enlightenment experiences, where you make realizations about the nature of yourself and of the universe. It's like being a world traveler. After you've been around the world in 80 days several times, you say, what the fuck? What a distraction. Because I'm always feeling myself wherever I go. What's that really like without the distraction? And when you go in deep enough, And the energies are still there, but you don't care about them. You see them as a distraction from something closer to your heart, your original feeling. Your face before you were born. The basic experience of self without distractions, based on being a human with human wants and needs, desires, pains, depressions, losses. You give it up as being melodrama. You give it up because you're happy just being with yourself. You don't even need pancakes anymore with strawberries on them, eggs, home fries. I mean, you may enjoy them once you get them, but you're not hankering after them constantly because you know the self. To put it in other words, other concepts, you know beingness. Putting it in other words, you know Turiya. Putting it in other words, you know yourself. Putting in other words, you know the witness. All these are ideas. They can't possibly convey the experience. I try in every way possible to convey what the experience is like. But unless you've felt it, you have no idea what I'm talking about. You can relate it to some experiences you had in the past, or the kind of imagination that your mind can do to imagine what that state would feel like. Robert would never tell us what he felt like. He would tell us stories. Stories of his past, or stories that you're not the body, you're not the mind. You're God, your consciousness. Just fucking stories. Stories to get you out of your stories. Mare, what is your story? Don't answer that. Just think about it. Maxie, what's your current grandiose fantasy? Dive deep within yourself. If you've felt the energies for some time, allow yourself to feel them now. In your chest, pelvis, head, hands, feet. then ignore them and feel deeper. You're no longer taken by them. You no longer find the energies fascinating. But if you've never felt the energies, it's hard to go deep enough into yourself. The energies are the last pleasurable area before you rest in yourself. Kareem is snoring now, so I know she's in deep samadhi. She woke herself up with her snoring. Now she's laughing because she's been caught. During Robert's satsangs, I never fell asleep that I remember, because I found his talk so absolutely boring. I just wanted to be elsewhere than to listen to his stories, because I knew that he didn't believe his own stories. He was just casting a spell to attract people to satsang, and then get them to eventually just feel themselves in silence. But by ignoring energies, he didn't allow them to feel the energies necessary to fully activate the body and make it alive. That's why I emphasize energies so much, is they bring both the body and the psyche alive, where you feel God within you. You feel the life force within you. Gradually, you just feel aliveness. Beingness. And it's finally as quiet as Robert was. The world of everyday life bores the hell out of me. Taking out the garbage pails on Thursday evening, eating 2 or 3 meals a day, when all that I want to do is sit and be in myself. I like to have company. I turn on the television. I really don't listen to it. I hear about Trump and the world falling apart. About Bloomberg coming in, setting the world straight for us to get rid of Trump, but knowing that Bloomberg is the same fucking kind of person as Trump is, only more wealthy. So it all means nothing, really. It's all about feeling who you really are without change. The underlying happiness of your base consciousness, your base awareness. and your ability to let go of even that in order to go into the nothingness of sleep. And after you wake up, a lot of times you can feel how happy you are about how well you slept, how happy you are with experiencing nothingness. No wants, no needs, no energies, no desires, no God, just nothingness. Ralph, right? Can we have 5 or 10 minutes of Krishna Das?